Hello and welcome to the Old Man Orange Podcast. I'm Spencer Scott Holmes.
And I'm Ryan Dunigan.
And hopefully, as I said last podcast, we won't get fucked with our podcast again.
I can't even remember. It's been like 2 episodes by this point. I remember, did we talk about that? Or I know we talked about it, but did it get recorded? It's one of those kind of things. Like, shit, what did we talk about? So
I feel like
I got all these I feel like I got all these stories to say. But sometimes would I just be repeating myself? Oh, fuck it.
Yeah, whatever. Worst comes to worst, you repeat yourself. I notice that mostly everybody seems to repeat themselves. I mean, how many times do you see your grandpa tell the same story?
Yeah, that's true. That's true.
You know? Mm-hmm. But yeah, I think it's just one of those ones. Something about... I've always learned that when you try some things that have to go over, like, you know, okay, this recorder that we're using for Skype, it was probably meant to record like a 10-minute conversation, maybe not like a 2-hour-long podcast, I guess. Even though the worst part, though, is it worked fine the first time.
It's probably just, I don't know, it's probably like the smallest thing or just like a freak coincidence. We'll see. We'll see what happens.
So we got a method to do it this way before we even go and download another program, because that's a whole nother avenue. I mean, we had to try like 5 different ones just to get one that worked fine in the first place.
Yeah, exactly.
But
so, we'll see how this one goes.
But in other fun news...
Go ahead, you were going to say?
You sound like you're saying
you go first.
Oh, I started playing, actually. I beat Uncharted 1. I started playing Uncharted 2. Now, to most people, this is probably back in time, but when you haven't had a PS3 and you're catching up with all these PS3 games...
It's called Old Man Orange for a reason.
I know. Well, it's one of those ones, like, it's always kind of a strange thing when you meet people and they get all weird about, like, well, that game was a couple years ago. And it's just kind of like, well, we only got so much money out there to buy a certain amount of games, you know? You kind of pick what you like the most, and then hopefully later on down the line you pick up the other ones for under $20.
Well, I don't want to sound like an old fogey or anything, but it is one of those things. I think a lot of this generation is kind of like... we consume a lot more when it comes to just like everything that includes media, and I think that people, once they're done with, I think a lot of people, because there was a time when you like would, this is going to sound kind of, I'm sure everyone still has like their like handful in their collection, but there's a time when you would like buy a video game and you would hold on to that video game and play it a lot. Now it just seems kind of like they come out so much more quicker, and people just kind of play it, they throw it away, they throw it to the side or take it back to GameStop. And just
they just pick it up, just go outside to the trash, just chuck it in there like, fuck you.
Yeah. Well, I was looking forward to it for 2 years straight. Fuck you now. I'm done.
Fuck you. I played you for 3 days, beat it, and fuck it. But,
yeah, pretty much.
I remember, like, perfect examples. Look at the N64. No matter how long you went over to somebody's house for like a 10-year period, you most likely went through the same games over and over again. It was like, well, what did you play? Oh, I played some Star Fox. We played some GoldenEye. We might have played some Mario Party. Even longer than that. It was just like you kind of just went through that same list over and over. Or even Super Nintendo or Sega Genesis. You know, you'd go over to somebody's house. Oh, I'm going to play some Mario World, or I'm playing Sonic the Hedgehog, or some Streets of Rage, maybe some Golden Axe. And that was just the thing.
The age where you just kind of like... I mean, maybe it just seems like that way, you know, because I think... Maybe just me, but maybe now that I think most video game players now have a job where they can buy it themselves and not waste. Because I think the thing was before, you had to wait for your parents to get it. You had to wait for Christmas or your birthday, or you had to save up for a whole year to buy one game. Now I think the average video game consumer has their own job and can pay for it themselves. It's a lot easier to just go out and buy whatever you want and then kind of quickly move on to the next thing. Where before I think that's probably the biggest difference, really.
That, and then, you know, I would say there's probably definitely way more games out there now to play than there was in the 90s. You know, in the 90s, I mean, they always made kind of games that kind of get forgotten, as always, but now it just seems like all the headliner titles, there's just a humongous amount of them that you can only get a couple a year, you know what I mean? And then maybe, if you're lucky, pick them up used later down the line. Like, as I said, the Uncharted one, I got all 3 of them for $8. I was like, that's one of those ones, if I played only one of them, it was worth it for that price. That's so low. And so far, that first Uncharted is like a 50-50 game. I can never imagine playing that game over again. I'll tell you that.
Does it feel so clunky, the first one?
It's more just, you're having a great time, and then next thing you know, it's as frustrating as can be. I was saying it's 50% fun, 50% frustrating.
Like, just kind of like lever turning and like figuring out combinations for like puzzles and whatnot?
No,
or is it more
they don't
just...
really. I will say the puzzles are kind of a little lackluster in it. I guess going into it, I was expecting it to be one of those like almost like the Sands of Time kind of game. where like there's going to be a little bit of action, but a lot more puzzle solving, climbing, exploration, all that stuff, and it's more like it's 75% action and 25% of that other stuff.
I'll say this, even though I do like certain puzzle aspects of the Prince of Persia games, something annoyed me is when, like, all right, I think it's kind of cool when you incorporate other aspects of the puzzle, like you have to, like, figure out what to, like, cut or break in order to open this door, or get over here to turn this lever, which is going to cause a chain reaction somehow. I think that's cool. I hate it when it's just a series of levers you got to turn to open a door and figure out. It's like, that's not fucking fun to me. That's not just incorporate it so I'm doing like backflips or some shit to get to one another. You know what I mean?
Where you're not sitting there going like, is this one? Nope. Is it this one? Nope. Is that this one? Nope. Oh,
and there's like some kind of little circular thing that has to go just in the right order and like that's not fucking fun to me. It's that's just fucking annoying and like just yeah.
We're just sitting there pressing X going, come on.
Yeah. That shit just takes me right out of the game, and that kind of, I mean, the overall games are still fun, but it's whenever you get to one of those kind of puzzles. Like, I like the ones where you have to kind of explore and then figure it out, and then you know what I mean?
Yeah. Well, that Uncharted one, it's like, okay, whenever you're climbing around, it's great, but it's the action. It's just one of those ones, it's not like it plays totally bad, but the fact that, like, so many fucking enemies will kill you in one hit, and you're like, I'm playing it on normal. I don't even want to know what the fucking fourth difficulty is if I'm dying from like one hit from everything on normal. And to top it off, there's always like, all of a sudden you'll be doing good, and the next thing you know, there's a guy with a rocket launcher behind you. And you're like, fuck.
Is it one of those things, there's the next one, have you played that one at all yet? The second one?
Number 2 is full on fucking amazing.
So
it literally fixes every little problem in that one. The story gets even better. I mean, the game jumps from a game where it's kind of like, I'm not saying like Uncharted 1's one of those games where like I'd stop playing and just go, fuck that game, fuck you, I'm never playing you again. But it's not that far off from being that game too. There's enough like intrigue to keep you going. And as I said, like there's parts where you're like, oh, I'm having a great time, I'm having fun, oh, this is awesome. And then like next thing you know, there's a guy sniping you from behind and you're like, what the fuck? Why is there enemies respawning from behind me?
That's always kind of a pain in the ass. Nathan Fillion doesn't do the voice in the second one, does he?
No, it's a guy named Nathan something else.
Nathan Drake?
No, that's the main character.
Oh, okay.
I want to say the voice actor, so his name's Nathan too.
Okay, Nathan Fillion. Only Nathans can play him.
Yeah, but no, that second one, full on fucking amazing. I kid you not. I mean, the gunplay is great. It seems like they had a little bit more puzzles, a little bit more climbing around. The characters get better because there's kind of this one obnoxious chick in the first one. She's pretty much making like I guess like a History Channel show about expeditions or whatnot. She's just got the most.
I hate those.
She's got the ugly. Her face just looks really annoying, and her voice is really annoying. The whole time I'm sitting there, I'm like, I want to punch this bitch in the face. Fuck her and fuck her camera, And then she's actually in the second one for a bit, but she's like they almost like I don't know if they took feedback from that or something. They cut her back from being nearly as annoying.
That's one thing most of the time, movies, it's kind of a toss-up, but it seems that most of the time, not all the time, but most of the time, video game producers kind of listen to the feedback and will change it. Not always.
Where like movies, I don't think people give a flying fuck. I mean, technically I guess they do because they have those ones where they'll do those pre-screenings and people go in there and they say what they like and what they don't like, and they actually do make some radical changes based on that.
Well, I think they'll make I think they'll listen to an extent. Like it's one of those things. I think a lot of the times they'll think. I mean, sometimes you get a good producer and a good director in there, and they'll know exactly what to change and how to make the movie better. But then they'll go in there and they might take one or two of those things, and they think they know what the audience wants to make it better, but they just kind of take a step forward, take a step back, kind of thing.
Yeah, they fix one thing and then they find ways to enter new problems other ways.
Okay. Transformers 4, yeah, we got Mark Wahlberg.
We got Marky Mark, we don't got Shia LaBeouf.
And the more I think about the movie, the more I'm like, maybe I was giving that movie more credit than it deserved, but who knows? Yeah, so it's one of those things. But
I don't know. Sometimes it's nice to be that thing. You go in there and you're like, Marky Mark, he'll fix everything. It's going to be a masterpiece now that we got Marky Mark in there. And then I guess when it's not nearly as good, you kind of go, oh, maybe it wasn't that good. But then you're like, well, better than the first three?
I'm not even sure, because it's one of those things. I guess I had my expectations high for that one because of Marky Mark. So now that it's, I don't know. I honestly couldn't tell you, and it's not a movie I'm desiring to go watch again. So maybe not. I don't know. It doesn't fucking matter really at the end of the day. But even Mark Wahlberg could really save it. But Maybe it's better. Who knows? But I saw. Did you by chance see Dawn of Planet of the Apes?
Yeah, I did see that. And that movie, I've only seen it once, so I always have to say you got to give it the 2-watch review. But I almost have to say I think that's a 4 out of 4 movie.
I think I agree with you right there. I only have really one complaint about it.
Really,
I have one complaint.
Yes, what's your one complaint?
And this isn't anything to knock the movie down, because no movie is. If you look at Citizen Kane long enough, you can find flaws. But I have one complaint about Dawn of Planet of the Apes, and that is the character. That he's not even a character; he's a plot device. There's the one human. I don't even know what his fucking name is. He's shaking when he's not shaking and spastic. Whenever he sees an ape, he is basically sitting there saying shitty things to the other humans, just kind of there to be an asshole. And
are you talking about the dam fixer guy or whatever?
Yeah,
the guy who fucking pulls a gun and shoots the ape in the very beginning.
That guy, and then like when things are going good, there is no reason. I don't care how scared you are of those apes. When things are going good, and a baby monkey crawls on you, like, get the fuck away from me! Throw it down, and then swipe what was a cloth the monkey had, around like a whole fucking like army of other monkeys that are already ready to just fucking stomp the fuck out of you. It's like one of those things. Just have a little bit of better writing for that character. Everything else in the movie, awesome.
I feel like this character has to be there just to be the total, like, he's almost like, he's a little bit over the top, but he's supposed to be there just to be the total fucking asshole that everybody's supposed to hate. That's the whole point of that character. He's just supposed to be this guy. He's pretty much the racist. That's what he is. He's the guy who just hates fucking chimps no matter what. No matter what they do, he's gonna fucking hate them. You know,
I thought
the chimps could fucking build him like a magic carpet, and he would still be pissed. Like one of those kind of guys. There's nothing they can possibly do to fix this guy's impression of him.
No, I get that. I mean, still, I understand. They need a character to kind of fuck things up for the others, but that's what I thought was good about Gary Oldman. He was only in the movie for like the beginning and at the very end when shit went down, and then like his few scenes, we understood what he was about. We understood everything about him. It was just right there, though, that character, just, I don't know, there's just nothing entertaining about that character, just annoying me like, this fucking guy. I was really glad he got his head crushed with a rock. I was just disappointed they didn't show it.
Yeah, I know. Downfall to a PG-13 movie, but
whatever. It would have been worth the R rating just to see that guy's head get smashed by a fucking boulder by Koba.
And I would have changed or traded Gary Oldman's fuck for just seeing that guy get his head smashed.
If that happened, I would have just like stood up and just start throwing money at the screen, like, do it again.
And just start doing that slow clap, like you're building up. Come on!
Just stand up.
Like that one. It's like an emotional movie where everybody starts standing up after you, just slowly.
Single tear rolls.
It's the most beautiful thing I've ever seen. No, but I mean, like, I think that movie was just so well balanced. It flowed smoothly. It had action. It had comedy. It had great emotion. It had drama. I mean, even the characters were all pretty good. Even the shitty guy understands, like, he's supposed to be there to hate him. You're supposed to just go, I fucking hate you, you fucking chimp racist.
Mm-hmm. But the thing, I'll say this, I think someone's pretty smart about these ones, because the original, I mean, they had, like, the originals from what I've seen of them. It's been so long.
I just rewatched 2 and 3 the other day.
I think it was number 4 and number 5. That's the one where the chimps come to our world, and they are...
number 4 and 5 are the ones that's got Caesar in it. That's where that character comes from.
Oh, okay, so that's not Caesar. All right. Then I think...
Number 3 is the one where they go, like, the fucking our world.
Okay, I seen that one, and I saw number 1 a long time ago. I barely remember it. I remember liking it. Then I saw the Marky Mark one, which unfortunately another one Marky Mark couldn't save. But
he tries.
He tried. He did all he could. But at the same time, what was I going to say regarding that? Though it seems like even though they would have good apes, majority of the time they make all the apes the bad guys. And this one, what I kind of think is cool about this series is kind of like 50-50. Even though Caesar's the main character, we're still seeing a lot of it from the ape's perspective and kind of understanding why it leads to this. Well, and actually, at the same time, the humans are fairly likable too.
In the old ones, it kind of starts off, it kind of flip-flops as those movies go on. Because in the first one, you kind of get there, and then
Charleston
you realize...
Heston.
Yeah, Charleston Heston, you're kind of on his side, I guess, the whole time. I guess that's the main character. Mm-hmm. And whatnot. And it's the gorillas are the ones that are the bad guys. They're like the warmongers. They're pretty much like the Republicans of the ape world that just like to fight and fuck and kill. And then you got the chimpanzees. They're like the pacifist kind of scientist. And then you also got the orangutans, which are supposed to be, I think, like the religious kind of figures of the place.
Now I'm thinking about the movie. I mean, because the gorillas didn't really have a part other than just soldiers in these last few. But the orangutan was, because Marcel, is it Marcel?
Yeah, I think so. They make him a little bit more like equal, I guess, because like in the other one they all have like classes. Where in this one it's kind of like, well, we're all kind of doing the same thing, just different.
It's probably going to lead into that, because this one they are kind of all on an equal playing field, and as one gets power, they even showed like Koba was becoming. I knew Koba was going to become the bad guy just from seeing him in the first one. Like the guy with the one with the facial scar, he's going to become evil. You know that.
Yeah, but going back to those old ones, kind of like as those movies go on, by the time you get to the second one, then you get kind of like a half perspective, because then you get the other space or astronauts guy comes down, he's looking for Charleston Heston or whatever, and then there's the good chimps, which are like the Rodney McDowall and Tim Hunter that plays those famous actors, and they're like the ones that aren't the gorillas. But the whole point of that movie is that Rodney McDowall, or not Rodney McDowall, the guy who's not Charleston Heston, who looks kind of like a Charleston Heston son, fucking finds this underground city of where these humans are living, and they're all telepathic now. They've all kind of like advanced, almost like in a time machine, I guess. And they're all kind of like, they wear these masks, but they're all like hideously disfigured underneath. And the whole point is they're worshiping this fucking nuclear weapon down there. They just have a nuclear bomb, but they don't know what it is. They just think that God has given them this thing to save them from the apes or whatever.
And I think I saw like the last 10 minutes of that.
It's got that great ending where like fucking all hell's breaking loose down there, and the apes are down there, and they're fighting against like the telepathic humans. And Charleston Heston gets shot, and he's like bleeding, and he rolls down. And the very end of the movie, he hits the fucking switch, and then goes to credits.
I think he said when he says like, "You killed us all, you bastards," or something. He like slips the switch. Like then like I think the narrator says, "And then a little green planet called Earth ceased to exist," or something like that. Like that's a fucking way to end a movie. Wow.
It's one of those ones I will have to give those original Planet Ace movies. They have like some of those, like if nobody spoils it for you, they have fantastic endings. Kind of like you think about the first one. It's one of those things where you're watching the movie the whole time, and you assume that it's on some planet of the apes somewhere else in like the universe, because they took a spaceship up. Like where else would you go? What are you gonna do? Like circle around Earth for like 200 years? Well, apparently that's what happens. They fucking got stuck circling around Earth for 200 years, and then finally when they landed, at the very end of the movie, you realize, oh fuck, they're right on top of New York City. They've been there for 200 years. These apes have taken over the Earth, and I think that's what's so badass about those old ones.
I think that it is kind of, these ones don't really seem that, because I guess it's kind of hard to have like a twist into these ones, because we all know what it's leading to, because some people it's like, yeah, it seemed kind of predictable. It's like, yeah, it's predictable. It's a fucking prequel. You know that eventually the humans, the monkeys are going to fucking go at it.
Yeah, but that's kind of strange to think. That's kind of like Star Wars watching episode 3. And of course he turns into fucking Darth Vader. I wonder how many people leaned over, do you think he's actually going to turn into Darth Vader?
Somebody, like, after he puts on the mask, and like someone leaned in, like, called it,
Fucking guy slips him $5 bill.
Fuck, he's right.
God damn it. How do you know?
It's like going to see, like, fucking, what was the Tom Cruise with an eye patch? Valkyrie? Like going
is he going to kill Hitler? Well, then again, I will say this, though. You take Inglourious Bastards, and I didn't think Hitler was going to get killed in that.
No, that's actually, I give that movie credit. I thought that was going to be one of those movies, we failed the mission, but then it's like, oh, they actually killed fucking Hitler. But back to the Apes ones for a second. That's something you got to give those movies credit, because back in the when those had to come out in the 80s, right?
Planet of the Apes films? They're all like the first one's like I think 1968 or 69, and then the next 4 are all in the early 70s.
Oh wow, I feel like a dumbass. So these predate Star Wars then.
So yeah, and the whole thing is because there's also other there's tons of small things in those old Planet of the Apes that are really cool too. It's like in the second one, they sort of have all these like I want to say it's the orangutans, but I could be wrong. Could be the chimpanzees too. They're kind of protesting the gorillas, being like, don't fucking go to war. War's meaningless. We got to kind of talk it out. We got to have peace, And it's kind of, I guess it goes with like the Vietnam War sort of kind of thing. Mm-hmm. And then also when you got that nuclear bomb thing, the whole point of people worshiping this bomb that really is what actually destroys the world.
Mm-hmm. Especially during the time of the Cold War and all that.
And then when you get again the 4 and 5, I haven't I actually just taped. I taped 5. It was on TV because I only own the first 3, and I haven't seen probably 4 and 5 since the 90s at least. I just kind of remember that's where Caesar comes from, because the whole point is at the end of the 3rd one, the 2 main characters have a fucking kid or whatever, and then they're murdered by like Americans
Human
go like, we can't
protest.
trust these apes. They're from the future. They're gonna fuck us over. And then like strangely enough, they leave this little chimpanzee at a circus because that's the safest place. But then he gets, if I remember correctly, he gets like raised from the circus, and he's the first chimp to ever talk, and it's pretty much sort of like the Rise of the Planet of the Apes, but older.
So
and then
these
there's
are
two
more
movies there that kind of go how they get to where they were 2,000 years in the future. But as I said, I haven't seen them since then. I barely remember them.
So these are more like, because like I said, I've only seen the Charlton Heston one, and I missed the second one. I saw the last bit of it, and then the third one, Charleston Heston one, I barely remember too. I remember he kisses a monkey. I remember that, and that kind of threw me off.
There's a part in the third one too where she kisses this other like good guy main character. She's like, "And you're the second human I've ever kissed."
Oh yeah, there's because they have like two humans.
He just pushes her down like, whoa, you've kissed another human before?
Fucking slut.
I'm taking you back now. Fuck that. Fuck all this peace and bringing chimps together and letting people live. No chimp slut's gonna get me.
I ain't getting fucking AIDS.
Yeah, what's going on, Donnie?
Yeah, so anyway,
But,
what was I going to say? That's where AIDS came from, yeah. Only made peace with the apes and plenty of the apes. That's where AIDS
that's,
really
that's what like that senator guy, even though it's all before AIDS,
sort.
but there's just like the evil, like, I don't know, I can't remember what he is. I don't think he's a scientist in the third one or whatever. He's just the evil president's, like, go-to man for, like, killing poor innocent animals.
What was I going to say regarding, something I was going to say regarding those movies, that's actually pretty ballsy ways to end those movies, seeing as they kind of they came out in a time when you weren't sure you were going to get...
Oh, sorry, I'm doing a podcast.
Oh, okay, I'm sorry. Take a ride. What do you mean take a ride? Well, I'll talk to you later if you're busy.
Okay.
Well, I have to talk to you. Oh. Okay, so we just have to talk about... Oh. So, just come on over later. I have a meeting, but come on over later when I'm done.
Okay, let's go back.
Okay. So, something I was going to say, I thought it was actually kind of a ballsy way to end those movies back, especially in that time, because that was a time when you weren't really guaranteed to get a sequel, and especially, like, that was also a time when sequels didn't make as much money as the original. That was a time when people kind of rolled their eyes at the idea of a sequel. I mean, people still do that, but regardless, they go see them, and they still make more than the original now, most of the time at least.
When it really all comes down to it, though, that Planet of the Apes, or that Dawn of the Planet of the Apes movie, though, I'm still as one of the ones I'd love to go see it again in theaters. Now, I probably won't because there's a ton of other movies coming out, and I need to save my money for those, but...
Exactly.
I mean, I'll probably buy that movie day one. It's just that good. And it's kind of one of those ones, like, whenever a movie's really good, there's a lot less to talk about. They're going like, it's good. It's got action, pacing, emotion. It's good. Monkeys with guns.
I feel a little bad about that because generally I always talk about how I think one sec, pause it for a second.
Yeah, I can't really pause it, but sounds like... Sounds like other people are using your connection, maybe.
Yeah, it's okay. All right, we'll keep it going. Anyway, it seems like that this day and age, that being the internet what it is, people like cynicism way more than creativity, and that's kind of an annoying thing. And me saying that, I feel a little bad and kind of like part of the problem, because I do find myself able to talk more about something that bothers me or annoys me about the movie rather than how good it is. Like, I find myself talking more on the negativity, but even though I don't really like that aspect. So I kind of understand why, and I'm not supporting it, I understand why people are able to lean so much towards negativity and cynicism on something they don't like, where it's just a lot more easier to talk about than how much, isn't this movie awesome? Yeah, it is. Okay.
Well, because when you're kind of about it's awesome, I mean, like, I guess the things, like, if we could name off a list of things you can talk about that's awesome, it's like you can always go like, well, look at the action scenes in it. I mean, what about when all the apes take over that tower and they're up there and like they get the final battle between Caesar and what's his name? Yeah, Boba. And they're up there fighting and stuff and punching each other and pretty much just swinging around on the top of this building, and then to top it off, fucking Gary Oldman, hits the switch on it, blows up all the C4 underneath, and the whole thing's like falling down as they're fighting and whatnot.
That part was awesome. Also, the fact that you get a part where a chimpanzee, I know a lot of people kind of roll their eyes when they hear this sentence, but these podcasts I haven't listened to lately, but you get a chimpanzee with a machine gun riding a horse through fire. That right there is badass.
Are you telling me that people don't like that?
I've heard some people say kind of like I heard a couple like film podcasts over the last couple of weeks saying kind of like that's not like a bad thing, but that's more like you got to see the movie just for that. Like, well, that's just one small little thing. My God, for me, that's awesome right there.
No, to me, that's a selling point. You put that on a poster, I'm there. Like, chimps with guns on horses. I mean, what more could you want in life? You know, because that's really sort of what the Planet of the Apes movies kind of sells to. It sells to that like primal nature of man and like him really wanting to be just an ape that lives out in the wild, but also one that can talk and shoot a gun and ride a horse. It's like the mix of like, it's like all the dreams. It's like, not only can I pretty much swing around on a tree all day, beat off constantly, shoot a gun,
reach that point,
and then I can also ride a horse, so I'm also like Clint Eastwood at the same time too.
What if they'll reach that point in the fucking like Apes movies where it's like we were at ammo, we gotta start using what we got. They just start fucking like throwing shit at them, or start fucking jerking off.
I was like, oh, not the eyes.
That's gonna throw them off. I mean, that's one way they could just win the war. Like, we're low on supplies. Go attack those humans. Go attack those apes. Fuck you. Why not? Why aren't you gonna go attack those humans? They're fucking jerking off over there, man. I can't fucking handle that. That's fucking weird.
Yeah, there's like 80 of them.
It's like 80 monkeys running at us fucking jerking off. I ain't fucking with that shit.
I'm pretty much part of a bukkake circle with a bunch of chimps around me.
Yeah, so I don't think we'll get that far in those movies. I don't think we need to get that far. But if they did,
we definitely don't need to have that.
Ballsy enough to go there.
Now, I'm still definitely, when I watch those movies, I feel very pro-chimp. Like, really, all those people in San Francisco could die. I feel like, fuck those people as much. It's like, pro-chimp all the way. What do you think? Are you pro-chimp or are you pro-human?
If I had to choose, I'm pro-chimp in that film. But I did like the four main humans we were focusing on. I liked them. They were
the main good guy, and then his wife, and then like his kid, who just looked like some kind of like gay man's like fuck buddy. I don't know what it was. Like, that kid's look just like, when I look at him, it's just like somebody's gonna lock him up in a closet and pull him out for parties and whatnot someday.
I like that. So you just look at that kid, and that's your hurt you have. Because that's something. I think that's something you generally, I would assume, you see somebody and you build that up about them over time. When you get to know.
I took one look at that guy, and that's like, I'm like, I know where this guy's life's going. He's gonna be a party favor.
He's gonna be. Bring out the potty boy. Potty boy, get in your closet. No, but like, what was I gonna say regarding that flick? I thought that I'm definitely more on the chimp side of this movie, and it was mainly just, I think if they didn't have the guy who had to fix the dam, I'd probably be maybe a little bit more split. But this one, no, definitely on the chimp side.
No, yeah, fuck the guy who had to fix the dam. It's like, where's this guy getting his skills from too? I guess it's just in movies. I guess the trade-off sort of is, if somebody has a really, really important skill, he most likely is a total asshole that nobody wants to hang around with. But we have to keep him around because he's got that one skill.
Well, something else I want to say on the movie real quick. It takes a lot of... It's because there is a part, like for 10 minutes of the movie, there's actual very little dialogue. And if there is dialogue, it's more just like broken English. It's more like a good... I'd say even maybe half the movie is actually subtitles for the chimps doing sign language and body language to each other. And that's kind of ballsy for a summer blockbuster movie. And
I agree, too, because we all know that the average American hates to fucking read. So by putting subtitles up there for, a good... I'm going to say a fourth of the talking at least. That is pretty fucking ballsy.
And it actually worked out. And plus, another thing about that is when the apes did speak to each other, most of the time it's in broken English, and they're just learning, so they can't really speak full-on sentences. That being said, it's got to look kind of funny on a script, some of the lines they're saying to each other. But the way the voice actor, or I guess they're actually motion actors. I think the motion actors are actually
a motion actor and a voice actor all in one. Or two different people.
I know Andy Serkis does that. I don't know about the other ones. I know Andy Serkis was definitely doing that though. But all the dialogue between Caesar and Koba, that was all really good, I thought. Especially even the part, like, you know, like, because they're kind of limited. You can't have like a full-on, well-developed speech, but they were just given their performances. They made what would usually sound silly sound actually pretty good. Like, there's a part where he, like, just in sign language said, like, we'll let the humans go by, let them do their human work, or something like that.
And he just goes, human work? Human
he just, like,
work.
says, he, like, points at, like, one scar, says, human work. He points at another scar, human work, and screams, human work! You know, just points at, like, another scar, and, like, it's like, that's actually pretty good right there.
Well, I think that's
I know
an
it sounds
example
kind
of
of silly.
That's the example of that, like, when choosing
Using
the
what
words
you
you
got.
need, no, not using what you got, but literally just choosing the most important words and just emphasize that, like, almost at how you can kind of get that across without having to have long, drawn-out conversations and stuff. It's just the right words, and that's it, and that's all they ever say. They just say the words that need to be said. And those performances are fantastic.
Even the part when, like, I like the part when they actually when they corner all the humans into I think it was City Hall, and the monkey that got shot at the beginning, Ash, he stops for a second, like, Koba's like, kill them. There's two like a couple on the ground, just like cowering, and he just, like, he motions like Caesar would not want that. And he's like, oh, okay, just bobs his head, grabs him by the back of the neck, drags him up the stairs, and just chucks him off the fucking balcony. and just, you know, even though as primal as it is, the guy's performance got it across. He says, Caesar is dead, or something like that. So,
yeah, just everybody else is like, well, fuck, I'm not going to say anything now.
Yeah, so that right, or even just kind of like things like, I mean, because like I said, you're kind of limited given the characters of how much you can say, but like you said, emphasizing on the very important things. So there's the part when Caesar comes back at the end to fight Koba, and there's that line where he says, because, you know, it's going to be kind of hard to make like a real interesting debate between two chimps that barely speak English, but there's the line he says, like, Caesar weak, and then Koba, he says this back to Koba, like, is Koba weaker or something like that, and, like, what I'm saying right now just sounds silly, but just their inflection and their tone, the way they said it, and the timing, it all just worked perfectly in the movie. Oh
yeah, totally. Yeah, no, it's just as one of those movies, like, you know, I just think about them, like, just every single aspect of it was just amazing. You know, there's not a single flaw whatsoever really in it. I mean, as always, you can always find something to nitpick about, but I mean, in like the overall perspective, it's about as perfect as could be.
I don't remember. Did you see Rise of Planet of the Apes in theaters, or did I let you borrow that?
I borrowed it from you, and then I saw it again off TV, but I haven't seen that one, like, in about a year. I think was the last time I saw it.
Mm-hmm. I was kind of wondering if James Franco is going to come back in this movie, but I'm guessing he's probably dead by this point.
Yeah, I kind of wondered that, too. I was like, oh, he must have just died from the virus, I guess, and
yeah.
wasn't really explaining.
Well, he was at Ground Zero when it happened.
Yeah. So it's just like, oh, okay. I guess, you know, I'm guessing one of those ones. It's like more like they just didn't want to pay James Franco to come back.
It's probably the case, yeah. Plus that skin.
I know technically it's one of those ones. Like, I mean, he works in that first one, but really, it's the main character Caesar. He's not really necessary to be there. I actually expected him to be part of, like, almost, you know, the main character of Dawn of the Planet of the Apes of the human side. I was actually thinking that was going to be him. You know, I was like, well, whoever the good human's going to be is probably just going to be James Franco. And then he never was there.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, they just
we traded him for Gary Oldman.
They met Maggie Gyllenhaal, that shit. Like, no one will notice the difference. You know?
Yeah. Well, yeah, at least it wouldn't be in a bad way.
It was Maggie Gyllenhaal, right? In Dark Knight.
Yeah, which is always like the one thing. Whenever I think of Dark Knight, I'm like, the only thing that always keeps that movie away from being like a perfect is just her compared to Katie Holmes just doesn't fucking cut it. Just doesn't, especially if you have to watch it in theaters. Just makes sitting there going like, oh, it's just not the same. You know, it's one of those ones. I'm most of the time I'm not really that big. Like, I don't have a problem with like replacing actors for things because it's a character, not an actor. You know, I mean, there's certain things that'd be kind of hard to do, but we even learned that big movies can also get those actors replaced, like a 007 or something like that, and then you really just don't seem to mind after a while.
Yeah.
But that one right there is just like, I feel like that's the one thing that kind of just always will bring down the Dark Knight. Is just you're always going like, you know, if they just would. At least she died, so she's not in the third one, though. I guess that's a saving grace.
At least she's dead, so we don't have to look at her anymore.
Yeah, thank Christ. But
I don't think
I blame
it
on
be
Katie
that
Holmes,
much,
but still.
I have trouble thinking of that as the same character from the first one.
Yeah, I can't think of the same character, and I really just don't care for her that much. There's other movies I've seen her in where she doesn't really bother me that much, but that's just one of those ones that's just like, no. But,
like how you got all primal there, you almost sound like Caesar, like, no.
No. The first words
even when he got
spoken by Ape.
The very beginning of the movie when he starts, like, I don't blame him for running. That was fucking scary when, like, you have, like, 80 apes around you just, like, chanting no, you know?
Yeah, exactly.
I'm kind of wondering what's going to happen with the next one, because this is leading into, because it's still kind of, it still isn't really, like, it's still kind of the early phases. These apes are a long way off, like, domination. It's still kind of like they got a long way to go. It's just kind of like the ball rolling, you know? First one isn't really even so much the ball rolling. The first one's like, you know, a morning wood of the apes or something like that, you know?
Yeah, it's like the process of getting, you know, just from, like, being a regular chimpanzee to a chimpanzee that can make up his own mind and do his own things and really have control over his life. And then the second one's kind of like, well, these chimps are they're pretty much on par of humans. And then probably in the third one, they'll be more advanced than humans, I'm assuming.
I'm guessing, I'm trying to wonder how it's going to get there, because I wonder if, because it's all moving in a logical process, but I'm wondering how it's going to reach from, and they already kind of, you know, they had to bring in the virus to kill off a bunch of the humans. I wonder if they're going to be, like, since then, like, they multiplied a lot more, maybe they found, like, a cash cow of just, like a secret stash of all the gas that made him smart in the first place and use on other chimps. Who knows? But kind of wondering how they're going to reach the point where humans are actually put in cages and whatnot. So
yeah, and then humans start to not be able to speak, and then the other ones go underground and so on. I feel like there'll be there's going to be a third movie of, like, the Caesar, and that will probably be the end of, like, I guess you could say the Caesar trilogy. And then I could see the fourth one almost being one where they just go, okay, now we're going to advance a couple thousand years into the future. And then they start to go into, like, that period of, like, Planet of the Apes, once they are highly advanced and once people are in cages. And then maybe they'll kind of explain how they get that far into it.
Yeah.
That's how I would do it, actually, but I feel like that's what it's going to be. You know, the next one will probably be another 10 years, because I'm like, I don't know, how long does a chimpanzee live for?
Maybe with this, I don't know how long they live for, but I know with this.
Do they live as long as man?
I'm not so sure. I would assume, if I had to guess, well, once they hit puberty, I think around 8 years old. I think 80 years old is when they. So they definitely age a little faster than us. But if I had to guess, a chimp lives for 30 years. That's just a rough guess.
But it looks like they live to 60 years, on average.
60 years.
So so we got a long ways for Caesar to go, I guess.
Yeah.
You know, you could probably even, like, probably what they'll do too is they'll probably do a sort of a speed up kind of thing. Instead of being 2,000 years in the future, they might do something where it's like, okay, maybe the third or fourth one, maybe past the third one, because the third one obviously is just going to be probably even
just
take place, like, literally right after Dawn of the Planet of the Apes. So the fourth one might be something where it might be like 50 years in the future, and then Caesar's just, like, really old.
I can see it being not even that. I can see it being kind of like the third one being, who knows, maybe 5 or maybe another 10 years. And then, like, within that time, somehow, like, maybe to make a little nod to the originals, like, they somehow get possession of, like, a nuke or some kind of weapon that maybe makes it so, gives them the upper hand or something like that, you know?
Who, the chimps or the humans?
The chimps.
Because the humans are the ones that have the nuclear bomb.
But no, maybe they would somehow, in some way, get a hold of it. I'm saying by the end of the movie, get an upper hand.
Kind of bring that kind of full circle around, like they actually have, you know, weapons of mass destruction.
And then maybe by that point, like, you know, have like some kind of like bitter, like, kind of like, we made it, but look what we've become, kind of a thing. Caesar even ends like we're more alike than we think. You know, that whole bit right there. So.
Yeah, because like in that Dawn of the Planet of the Apes, you kind of had that thing where it's just like, you know, apes still have the same problems as man. You know, we aren't that much different from each other. They got the good line, like, ape does not kill ape.
Then there's that line. I like that part at the end, like one of those parts in broken English, but sound pretty good. Like where he's just like, "Ape not kill ape." And he looks at him. He's like, "Koba not ape," and just drops him. And I like how he didn't just fall to his death? He
Oh, yeah.
landed like on some metal thing that bashed around all the way down, like, 200, 400 stories down to the ground into like, a pit of just like fucking broken metal and glass and shit.
I know that. I have to say, when I watched that too, I'm like, I'm glad that they went the creative route on that. Because we've seen people fall from high places many a times in life, but then when he hit a bunch of objects on the way down, it's like, oh, that's fucking awesome. Even though, strange enough, the older I get, though, whenever I see kind of scenes like that, I almost get to this point like, well, Batman wouldn't kill him. Do you ever get that feeling when you watch movies and you see, and even if they let him go, it's kind of like Batman would have brought him back up and just would have like reformed him. Yeah,
well, Batman's not an ape, so.
Yeah. I guess Batman doesn't make those exceptions. That's the one thing. He's like, well, the one thing about Batman, though, he does that one thing you always got to think where it's just like, it's almost like in his mind's like, if I kill you, the comic book industry could die. Who am I going to fight? If the Joker's dead, and Mr. Freeze is dead, and Two-Face is dead, there's no one left.
They got to keep, well, that's something, I mean, really, look, I'm saying this with...
it would make it for a funny, like, comedy comic if you just did a joke one where, like, it was just a one-issue thing of, like, if Batman just killed everybody and then it just shows fucking him and Robin fucking sitting in front of the TV being like, man, this is great, we got all sorts of free time.
Yeah, I know. Like, they just, like, clean up Gotham just in a matter of, like, 2 days.
Yeah, like,
you see all, like,
nobody fucking survives.
You see, like, Penguin, Poison Ivy, Scarecrow, Hush's head all mounted on their wall behind him.
There's just a big bonfire of like corpses outside just burning. They just throw them all in a big pile and just light it. Alfred's out there fucking keeping the fire going.
Yeah. Tosses like fucking like Scarface in there, like, oh yeah, I got one more. Just tosses that in there. No.
The puppet. He tosses fucking the guy who's like the voice of Scarface. He puts like the puppet on the wall. Yeah, the ventriloquist, and he puts the puppet head on the wall.
They have like Joker's like a bear rug or something like that.
It's just him sitting. Just him and Robin just sitting there, kicking back, watching TV with this huge museum of like all of his villains' shit, and their bodies and their heads and their corpses. He
just adds it all to his arsenal and shit.
But there is that thing though, like when I watch movies,
it's like, Robin, get me a beer. Like, grabs a beer. Says, oh, it's kind of warm. Just pulls out Mr. Freeze's freeze gun, like snaps it for a second.
Well, that's much better. Yeah, there's that thing that when I watch movies and I just kind of go like, I'm like, Batman wouldn't kill him.
Well, I'll say this, even though I mean, I can kind of sort of find rules around it, but and I understand why. But even going back to like the Christopher Nolan trilogy, even though I think those movies captured Batman better than other movies, I will say that basically in Dark Knight, he basically kills Two-Face. You may find ways around it. They kind of find ways around it, because basically at the end of Dark Knight, even though that I still really love that movie and it didn't really kill the movie for me or anything, he basically kills Two-Face. You could say like, well, he didn't kill Two-Face, he just died for the kid and grabbed the kid, and Two-Face just happened to kind of slip and fall. But really, he fucking killed Two-Face at the end of the movie, let's be honest. I mean, at least he would have
put a little bit more. We know the Batman in the comic books would have put in all this effort to fucking get both of them out of there.
Probably what would have happened. I mean, I'm not even trying to make a comparison. I understand shit happens sometimes. But it's probably one of those things, like in the comic, I could see what happening. Even though scientifically it'd probably snap his neck as Two-Face is falling. With one hand, he'd be holding the... Actually, I don't know how he'd actually save Two-Face now, because he'd have one hand holding onto the thing, the other hand holding onto the kid. Then I don't know how he'd
like, grab my dick! Just a little kid's like, I don't know! It's the only way!
Or he'd just have the kid, or somehow he'd have I don't know what he'd do, but somehow, some way they'd get it in the comics. Basically, if Grant Morrison was writing him, they'd find some way, like, oh, I never thought of that, Grant Morrison. That was
actually some creative, like, he would take out a certain gadget and, glad I packed this with me today.
Yeah, when Grant Morrison doesn't write Batman, he writes Bat God, because he's kind of prepared for anything, really.
But, because I was thinking, like, that's kind of like that, where Batman's almost like pushing 50, and he's just learned everything known to mankind by this point.
Yeah, exactly. Just, eating and drinking nothing but protein shakes and just doing nothing. The only thing he ever reads or for entertainment is just better ways to punch fuckers in the face or better ways to control your metabolism or whatever. But I understand why it's nothing worth marking the movie down for. Even the original Burton films, which it's not my favorite, but still a really good movie, the first one. So, like we said before, you got to start somewhere. So I really don't get that. Here's something I do get though. I don't really get Batman wouldn't kill that guy, but I do get, that city got more fucked up than when Superman fought Metropolis. I get a lot of that because ever since Man of Steel came out and people bitch about the collateral damage, I still kind of, whenever I see a big scene with a lot of explosions and death, I just can't help but think, like, no one's bitching about this one.
Well, that's why I noticed too. I go, man, I see it all the time in cartoon shows and comics and other movies, and nobody seems to care whatsoever. Only when Superman's involved. Well, not even only when Superman's involved. Only in that one movie when Superman's involved, because it happens in like every other one too.
Mm-hmm. Which I don't want to keep on beating that over the head. It's literally been a year by this point.
I know, and we'll defend it to the end. It's like the Dark Knight Rises thing. It's just like at this point we just gotta kind of go like just accept it for what it is.
We'll be like on our fucking tombstones, like, Man of Steel is awesome.
Fuck you. That happened in every other thing. Superman destroyed a city. I just like to assume that like Superman, no matter what, he knew where everybody was.
Their last will and testament, that they're still like just this is the will reading. They just wanted to say, Man of Steel was really good. That happens in everything Superman oriented. Like, what about their possessions? Oh, they didn't say anything about that. They just wanted
they want that to be made very, very clear. Speaking of Batman, I just finished reading Batman Volume 4. That's one of those ones you should get that one at some point down the line.
Should I probably? I know I should probably get the original, the first three first.
I thought you had Batman and Robin. I thought you had the first one.
I don't have any of the Batman. I have.
For some reason, I thought you bought the first New 52 one.
I have the Grant Morrison run, and then I don't have any of the 52 run.
Oh, okay. Yeah, it's like it doesn't really have anything to do with the Grant Morrison ones. I mean, I guess it's Batman, so it'll have something to do with something.
Damian, yeah.
But for some reason I thought you went out. You should actually buy those ones. Are actually really, really well made, and I think they're kind of those like underrated Batman books because I never hear anybody talk about the Batman and Robin New 52 ones.
Only ones you really ever hear about, Batman-oriented wise, is either people complaining about Batman Detective Comics or how awesome Scott Snyder is.
Yeah, which I agree with. You always just hear Scott Snyder, and you never. These other guys are like they're really technically doing just as good a job, but they're kind of like hidden. But,
who's doing Dark Knight? Who's doing was it Dark? Is it Detective Comics just canceled, or was Dark Knight?
I think it was the Dark Knight one. It got canceled.
Okay, I don't remember which one I read that wasn't that great. Was that been by Tony S. Daniels or someone else?
I want to say that it's like we're basing this off one comic, just because and that Night of the Owls, whatever, like the one that kind of had every one from all the Batman series, or one issue pretty much just about from every Batman series for like the Court of Owls battle thing. I remember that just the Dark Knight one out there was just one of those ones that was like, just okay. And now that's really only basing it on one issue, so I kind of like want to go like, well, maybe we should be a little bit more broad on that.
I guess I'm maybe being a little overly resentful because I really liked what they were going with Black Mask. I was really starting to like Black Mask, but then they suddenly made him in that one issue I read, just a very lame fucking villain. Just very fucking lame. So I did not know he had the same powers as the fucking snake from Jungle Book. I don't know. The whole fucking hypnotizing thing. I don't know where the fuck that came. I liked that he was the Tony Montana of Gotham City. I like that. I don't know where the fuck. Look into my eyes. Your will is weak. Like, where the fuck did that come from? But whatever.
Yeah, I know. There's that kind of weird.
And the fact he tried that to Batman, and Batman literally just says, "Shut the fuck up," and just like stabs like a fucking like a batarang into the top of his head and knocks him out first.
I was like, well, that's it. It's one of those ones. At some point, I wouldn't mind just sitting down and maybe just buying some of the Dark Knight ones, and just let them, because sometimes they kind of like we all know all comic books. I mean, here's the thing: if the first Scott Snyder one you ever read was the fucking Mr. Freeze one, you'd probably go fuck Scott Snyder.
Probably.
If that was the first one you read, and that was the only one, and somehow, some way, you just came across a random issue, and that's what you picked up, you'd probably be like, I don't like this guy. But, you look at that's just one issue. what he
exactly. And
I'd say people are allowed to fuck up on one issue here and there. So maybe like the whole book. I mean, if you buy like The Dark Knight, if you bought 2 volumes of it and they weren't very good, then maybe that'd probably be where you can call it a day. But
I guess you got a point, because this guy he fucked up Black Mask, but Scott Snyder, who I like a lot, did fuck up Mr. Freeze.
So
he fucked up Mr. Freeze, and well, I don't know. There's a local. I probably won't say shit. I was gonna say I'll probably say that to him. Like, no, I'm not gonna fucking say that to him. There's a local comic book shop I go to, and it's just a rumor. But it's a possibility Scott Snyder might be coming by and visiting and doing a signing at that shop.
that'd be sweet.
And if that happens, I'll be awesome, and I'll let you know. But I was gonna say I'll probably say it to him. Like, I'm
no, you're right.
I'll just be
like, get the fuck out.
I don't want to say that to him.
Get this guy out of here.
If I get into a conversation long enough, and
he fucking jumps across the table, just starts punching you out. Everybody's cheering him on.
Say it again! Say it again!
I like how
every fucking day on Twitter, some asshole has to give me shit about what I did to Mr. Freeze. Fuck you! Just starts like smashing my fucking. You're like, oh wow, he's really strong for a scrawny comic book writer. Wow.
I want to say it's in the DC Comics book, the inking one that they released, a while back, and it's the guy that's the inker is the one who inked. His name's Klaus Janson, the guy who did The Dark Knight Returns. And there's a part in the very beginning where he's like, I've literally seen inkers fucking jump across the table and tackle people when somebody was calling him a tracer. He's like, that's a fucking real thing.
Was he did he actually reference? Was he referencing chasing?
He referenced that, but they said like in real life. He's seen that happen.
That is awesome. That is awesome right there. Because that is like probably, the most. Really, when you think about it, you never really think you always hear who's your favorite like penciler, who's your favorite writer. You never really hear who's your favorite letterist, who's your favorite color. You never hear that.
And I always feel like those 3 jobs are like the 3 harder jobs compared to the writing and drawing. It's like the inking in itself, it's just like, 'cause when you're drawing, you can go so kind of quick and you kind of know what's going on. Where that inking, you got to stop and slow down, and you're really making sure it looks fucking good. Where the pencil's kind of like, I can make it look as, it's good enough. The inker's just going to fix it. Fuck him. They probably get better working relationships than that, but there's probably people out there that say that, though, still. But going back to Batman and Robin.
That's what...
you say what you...
70s and back, that's what it was like. 70s and
there's
back.
A period where it's like, that's okay. If he does a bad job, I'm just going to walk next door and kick him in the fucking balls.
That's actually, that probably wouldn't be the writer or the artist. That would probably be more of, like, just the... editor or whoever was in head, because you hear you
just hear about an editor who goes into the room, he just starts taking his belt off. Just the inker's down and he's like in the corner and there's very little light in there. He's like, no, not again, it's not my fault, I was trying my best.
I like how he turns British the second he gets scared.
He's just like, oh my little British boy, don't beat me. My mother used to beat me. Whenever I couldn't draw the line, she said, "You are a fucked up tracer, you are."
They got like just this workshop of like 18th century orphan boys, just like doing all the trace and like coloring work for all these comics back in the 70s.
Yeah, even like I was thinking almost even earlier. But back to that,
or 70s and back.
Yeah, but
no, you hear Neil Adams and you hear Dennis O'Neil talk about about how things ran back then. He's like, it sounds you're not far off.
No, yeah, they weren't that far off from being kind of like, if you weren't like the main guy, you were kind of like in the fucking working grind for everybody else.
And you wouldn't think about it. He's just like, back in the 70s, man. Back in the 70s, a lot of like, we would have like, it almost sounds like something you want to hear about comics, but it's like, a lot of us big comic book writers and artists back in the 70s, we would have like these special like locations where we all work and write and draw together. We'd be fucking like, taking ecstasy and taking heavy drinking and all this and that.
Well, that's like, if you looked at like Atari back in like the 70s and whatnot, that's like practically what they did the whole time. It's just like, people would be like, they walked in there, everybody was all casually dressed. There was fucking like just the smell of pot lingered in the air the whole time. And the strange thing too, and people did heavy drinking every night and they got so much shit done. The 70s is just this magical time where like, I don't feel like that could ever happen, at least not anytime soon, where people could like party super hard and get tons of work done all at the same time.
I liked hearing Kevin Smith's. Interview with Denny O'Neil, and he's also because he's such a well-spoken guy, and he knows his shit. He's just like, now keep in mind, I'm a writer in the '70s with a mild cocaine habit, So he likes to emphasize that every so often. He would just somehow work that into whatever he's talking about. Anyway,
exactly. But when it really gets around to this, you got to check out Batman and Robin New 52, though. I will say that all 4 of those volumes are really fucking awesome. I really liked them. And strange enough, this being from a person who didn't like Damian at first, by these ones, it's like, I'm like, no, I'm totally cool with Damian. And these stories, they're all kind of like those heartwarming, they're like the father-son stories, I guess, is like what a lot of these ones are. And kind of just like the relationship Batman has with his son.
I like that because that's one of those things, well, I mean, I'll be honest, even when Damian was there, I was like, we're going to get some... We didn't really even get so much of a father and son thing, and that's what I kind of liked about it, because I guess this is kind of a typical father and son thing, but Bruce does not completely trust Damian. There wasn't really a father and son relationship. It was very much kind of like, no, we're working together. I mean, yeah, I'm gonna look out for you. I'm gonna take care of you. But I don't even know if does Bruce at any point in this run, because it wasn't during Grant Morrison, it wasn't during any of the ones I read. Does he ever say I love you, son, or anything to Damian?
I want to say he does. Or
once, maybe?
Yeah, because I mean, a lot of the stuff is. I mean, I want to say there's a part where it gets emotional. I mean, where he's they're fucking hugging each other and they're all happy to be with each other and whatnot. I mean, in this last one, there's a fucking cover of it where it's the most saddest looking thing. It's Bruce is on his fucking knees and he's just hugging the Robin suit and he's crying and everything.
Is he Bruce? Or
He's Bruce. Either that or he might be. I don't want to say is Bruce because I want to say he has a muscle shirt on. And he's just there down the cave. And that last one's just one of those ones where he's fucking pissed. And he's just looking for a way to fucking bring back his son.
And I like it.
I mean, he takes Frankenstein, he fucking throws him down on an operating table, starts taking him apart, being like, I'm going to learn the secret to your life. And Frankenstein just sitting there going, please, don't hurt me. It's a horrible life. I'm either alive or dead. And he's just like, I don't give a flying fuck. And then Tim Drake's sitting up there, because each issue kind of has pretty much some Bat family member trying to kind of talk him out of this crusade.
And he just bitch slaps.
Yeah, he just fucking just starts fighting Tim Drake and whatnot, and then fucking leaves. And then Tim Drake's just standing there with that wide shot, and it's all dark in there, and then you just kind of see Frankenstein in the corner in pieces. He's just like, could somebody put me back together? Just Batman fucking, he's like, fuck that guy, I'm leaving.
Studio audience laugh track right there.
And there's even a part later on where he's on a mission with Jason Todd, and Jason Todd he's kind of yeah, we're gonna go out, we're gonna do it like the old days, Jason. It's gonna just be like the 80s. Yeah.
Is that what Batman says, or what Jason says?
No, I want to say it's like Batman says. So I think he's leading Jason.
He's just trying to.
He's okay, we're going down to Africa to take care of some crime, and then all of a sudden they show up to this one area, and he's all like, "Does this ring a bell? Does this bring up any flashbacks to you?" He's like, "This is where you were beaten to death." He's like, "Yes, I know. Every day of my life, I try to forget this. This is the one thing I don't want to remember." He's like, "No, fucking remember. I mean, I need to learn the secret. Come on, you remember." How were you brought back to life? He's like, I don't remember. I just remember getting beat, and I remember it being the worst day of my entire life, and I don't want to remember it. Fuck you, Batman. I'm taking the fucking jet back.
And that's when Batman just kicks the shit.
No, he just fucking leaves.
Oh, I thought
him and Tim Drake fight, but Jason Todd.
There's actually, I'll say this real quick. They actually do patch up some stuff, and later, I mean, they don't get along completely, but they do clearly patch some stuff up. And Red Hood and the Outlaws, during Death of the Family, because they have the whole thing with Joker, his whole plan, and after the little kind of prologue thing, or rather, I guess this would be an epilogue. Where they have an epilogue. Actually, I feel like a dumbass for asking this, and shouldn't be asking this while this is recording. Prologue comes after the main story.
No, prologue is beforehand. Epilogue is the final
epilogue.
one.
We got epilogue.
Yeah.
All right, I'm so glad we have that on recording for me asking that question. Epilogues. We got this little epilogue at the end, where Jason puts on the helmet, and the helmet was actually booby trapped by Joker, and it kind of just puts him into like a little bit of this, like poisons him, and then he kind of goes on a little spiritual journey because there's this kind of like mysticism, spiritual journey stuff going on in under the Red Hood and the Outlaws, because that's where he got his training. He got his training from like these I'm not sure, I don't know, I don't remember what they're called. Basically, these monks that live out in the mountains, and they're training him to be the leader of the League of Assassins. So, while that's going on, he wakes up. Batman was the one kind of nursing him back to health, and there is this one real, like, heartwarming moment that I didn't think I was ever going to get in the comics, really, between Batman and Jason Todd. I thought they were always going to stay like, fuck you. I didn't know we were ever going to get this moment right here, so.
Well, Batman gives him, like, a new helmet and everything, and he pretty much puts him in, because I saw this in other ones, sort of, as he just kind of accepts him into the Bat family, and the whole point is that, like, Jason Todd, he's like, you can use guns, just don't fucking kill. It's almost like Terminator 2. That's like I think of. He's like, you can shoot him in the fucking kneecap. Make them so they don't walk again, but that's right okay, as long as they're not dead.
I don't really keep up with he right now where it's at. He still kills. Actually, I don't think he's killed in a while, but he was killing the first 2 volumes definitely. But this one right here, I mean, they don't really, when Batman make him an asshole, they don't really do that a whole lot. And I kind of like, I mean, he's an asshole in some extent to where he's, the job first, but I mean, blatantly, sure, like ulterior motives to bring him in. Like, all right, so yeah, just tell me how it's about the day you die. When he gets his primal and angry.
And he fucking brings him back to like the place where he was killed at. Just kind of like, remember, I got all day long. Just sits there, just looks at him, just be like, got any thoughts yet? Bringing up anything? Here, here's a picture of the Joker. Well, hopefully that helps. Slides it over. Slides over a crowbar next really slowly.
Says like, oh, can you help me get this? Oh no, he's like, can you help me get this package open? Oh, here's a crowbar to help me open it.
Slides some C4 over.
Anything yet? Just like Jason has a single tear building in the corner. I like,
he's like, it's okay. I stole these actors from Broadway. They're gonna reenact this scene for you. Sit back, because I'm paying them a hefty penny here.
They're actually doing a musical over in
it wasn't my idea. It was Alfred's. But no, I will say though, those Batman and Robin ones are pretty sweet. And yeah, and those ones, it's kind of like the whole point of that story of like the last book was that he's just going kind of trying to find the secret, and then there's there's a Batman and Jason Todd, Tim Drake, Nightwing, Catwoman, Barbara Gordon. I want to say that's about it. So at some point they're going to have to fucking bring another Robin in there, or else it's just going to be like the Brave and the Bold, pretty much. I don't know how you're going to call it Batman and Robin anymore.
Unless Red Robin gets demoted, I guess what? You're no longer your own man. You're my fucking sidekick again.
Or he just tells that. Yeah, he's like, no, I want you to put the costume back on again.
Sorry, all I got is a short.
Your old one. Your real old one.
I burnt it in. I burnt the others in celebration of you returning. So,
but did you read that Grayson one out of curiosity that just came out?
I started to. I feel bad. I started to. I forgot I had it on my phone. It's been a busy last couple of days, but yeah, the first pages I read really awesome.
It was really good. Had great artwork in it. That was probably like the thing I liked the most in it.
I got to the part where he's helping the fat Russian dude, and we found out the fat Russian dude has powers.
Oh yeah. The one thing I was really confused with, I was like, I feel like I'm really missing something though. There's some story in between that's like explains how all this stuff goes together, because I feel like I'm just jumping into a story halfway through or something like that.
Is this a what if thing?
That's what I don't know. It's like there's a lot of questions. Maybe they'll answer them in the second one, but because like I put that up, I wrote something. I was like, oh, this new Grayson book is really sweet on Twitter and whatnot. And then the guy that fucking wrote it, like he favorited it and whatnot. I was like, oh, boy, that guy. I was like, how that guy just? I didn't even send it to him. I just put it out there anyways. And then I asked him, I'm like, is there like a Nightwing one I'm fucking missing in between this? And he never wrote back. I was like, oh, okay. I'm like. Because I read them by trade paperback, so I always know I'm a little bit behind when I can pick up a single issue.
Same here. I read by a single issue, especially because the ads.
But the upside of Comixology is I never had an ad in any of those ones. So, I mean,
well, even me, if I'm paying like $2, I guess I just still want a copy most of the time. I mean, every so often I will just get like, a download issues on Comixology, but for the most part, I just like having tree had to die, and a couple of squirrels had to lose a home, but still, those guys like having a physical paper copy.
The only downfall this way I have with downloads is like,
eventually it's going to go away.
It's like that, and it's like I don't have any value out of that. It's not worth anything, Where at least I always just say it's like when it comes to video games and books and DVDs, if worse comes to worse, I can at least sell all that stuff back and at least get something out of it. You know what I mean? Like, if desperate times came for desperate measures, that's what I got.
I think another thing is, for me, when it comes to like digital download type stuff, eventually I'm not going to have an iPhone. Eventually I'm going to have something else, and it's not going to transfer over to my other phone as well or so easily. So,
well, do you buy yours off Comixology, or do you get them on like iBooks or whatever?
Comixology.
Okay, because on Comixology, the nice thing about that is because on my account, it's like I can download them on my computer, I can put them on like my tablet, I can put them on my phone, and it's like they're all, at least that count's universal. Where if you
that's a good point.
So that's the nice thing about that. So worst comes worst, if you don't have your phone, you can just go on to like Comixology on the internet and just pick them up. Where I think if you had them something like if you got them in like iBooks or whatever, that one that I think that's what they call it for Macintosh is that you'd be kind of fucked if you're like, I'm gonna go out and get an Android phone now or a Windows one. Then you'd be like, maybe.
Okay, let me put it this way: to bring it full circle. When Caesar takes over and the apes are ruling the world, and my iPhone doesn't work anymore, and neither does my computer, how am I going to read my comics?
Exactly. Because if not, we're going to put our faith into the fucking asshole guy to turn the power back on at the dam.
A quick thing I want to say.
I just have a picture of it, like you're standing there, like right as the power's turned on.
Why am I in San Francisco? So I'm there for Ground Zero for that movie. So I'm there for 10 years from now. Who knows? I might be one of the people.
You'll be like Gary Oldman, and like right as your fucking tablet comes on, it's not a bunch of pictures of your family. It's like your Batman comics come up. And it's just the tears coming down. Like, I never thought I'd see you in my collection again.
Yeah, that's what it is. It's not. I'll just be like going through my. Oh my god.
Just through like, oh my god, Dark Knight Returns, Watchmen, X-Men. Oh my god, Captain America. Where have you been all my life?
Year one. Oh no. that'll be my moment right there. Yeah. No, that's my whole motivation the whole time.
That was the whole reason you want the power turned back on again.
Just to get his fucking, he doesn't give a shit.
He just wants his Comixology account to come back online. But no, that's the one thing. It's like that's why
I want to say this real quick. How awesome would it have been though? I mean, some people say this would have killed the pace, not the pacing, but the feeling of the movie. How awesome! As soon as because you get the zoom in on Caesar's eyes, and then it cuts to black, and then the very kind of like serious music.
In the very beginning.
What if it just went at the very end?
Oh, okay, yeah.
Because it ends the same way it started. What if they start playing, like, right there, they start playing Brass Monkey by the Beastie Boys? Right there at the end of the movie. Like, every Planet of the Apes movie has to end with Brass Monkey by the Beastie Boys.
Or you can even have that song, Feed the Monkey, on the Encino Man soundtrack. By the band Infectious Groove.
Oh, that would work, too. It just somehow has to have monkey in the title.
That would definitely be the ballsy ending, which it'd also be kind of like one of those. It might be like that weird ending, sort of like in The Other Guys, how it like ends with like Rage Against the Machine, and almost like totally changes. Like it's like, wait a second, was this movie a comedy, or was I supposed to get a message across?
Well, no. Here's the thing about Other Guys. That movie is blatantly a comedy, but it is one of those things that got kind of weird at the last second because it was like had like a political message at the very end. I mean, I guess you could say that's what was going on in the movie, but they didn't really focus on it. Through the credits, they're showing you like numbers, statistics of how many people got away with like tax evasion and whatnot. And it was just like, did we just watch a fucking Will Ferrell comedy? What is this?
And they're blasting Rage Against the Machine in the credits.
Yeah, they're playing like their rendition of Maggie's Farm by Bob Dylan.
Oh yeah.
So that's what they're playing. So it was just like, where the fuck did this come from? But whatever. I mean, okay. I only spent.
Don't get me wrong. You put Rage Against the Machine in just about anything. Makes me happier.
Well, I'm pretty sure that guy Adam McKay. I'm pretty sure he's friends with Tom Morello because a lot of times they'll use an audio slave or a rage song in one of his movies, or Tom Morello will do like additional guitar work in the score somewhere. So.
Oh, that's pretty sweet then. What other movies does that guy do?
He does like most of the big Will Ferrell movies, so like Talladega Nights. I think he might have done Step Brothers. I never see that, but I know like Audio Slave music was in Talladega Nights, as well as he did like, I know I saw in the credits somewhere, this is so random, but Tom Morello did like additional guitar work for that movie. I think there's something else. I'm sure he's done other ones, but yeah.
No, that's pretty sweet.
He was like I think he was an SNL guy, and then once he was like a writer for SNL, and then once he got out of SNL, him and Will Ferrell started making movies together.
That makes sense then.
Yeah. Back to monkeys though. So
yeah, I know. So make sure you got your physical copies now.
Yeah.
Well, see, because that's the one thing. Like Comixology, I mostly only download something off there if it's on sale. Because sometimes I'll get like a full graphic novel that instead of paying $10, I'll get it for like $2.99. I'm like, okay, I'll pay that. That's worth it for me. You know, it's kind of like I get a $7 savings, but my sacrifice is I just don't get a hard copy. Oh, okay, so it's a trade-off. You know, and it's sort of like with digital games too. It's like I'll buy ones if they're kind of like, you know, like those $15 or less ones, or either some of those games you can only get them digital copy anyways, and that's fine. That doesn't really bother me. It's just like the concept of like I can't imagine why somebody would want to spend $60 on digital download for like an Xbox One game. You know what I mean?
I don't get that either. Yeah.
Plus, with like if you look how big the fucking games are nowadays, it's just like. You know, other than maybe downloading, like, you know, like the indie games and like the small ones and whatnot, and like classics, you know, those hard drives are only like 500 gigs, and each one of those games is like 40 to 50 gigs a piece. So you just kind of, I always just kind of look at just like, well, you know, you can only download so much shit of that. You know, it's just like might as well.
The only reason they're probably like as expensive as the regular copy on day one is just because they don't want the other ones to go out of business. So that's
the whole point. I think the main reason why, because technically, I feel like a digital copy should be like $40 because you're not getting the CD, you're not getting the case, you're not getting, well, you really don't get the booklet anymore.
It probably drops down to that. Probably give it like a month or 2 months, the main period.
Strange enough, you'd be surprised. They don't drop down. They stay up higher. Like they'll drop in Best Buy before they drop online.
And fuck that bullshit.
And I think the main reasons do that is just the fact that, say if they did make them cheaper, like even if it was like $50. If the download copy was $50, I think Best Buy, Walmart, Target, and even GameStop would be like, "Yo, what the fuck? Were you guys trying to put us out of business?" Like I think there's that weird sort of like you almost have to get along with your other businesses kind of thing.
Which I understand to an extent.
You know, so I think that because really I just feel like if I'm not getting a physical product, it almost to me should be 50% less. You know what I mean? Because you can practically give them away. It doesn't cost them anything. You know what I mean?
Two of the best buys I ever had, like digital buys. Granted, these are books, not movies, but I got all of H.P. Lovecraft's work for like all his entire writings for like $2, and then C. Robert Cargill. He was like one of the main guys on Spill. He has he also wrote he was one of the writers on Sinister, and I think he's doing something else now too, but. He wrote a book called Queen of the Dark Things, and that was like $1. That was like a special sale, so you can't really complain about that. And it's a full-on book, and the book like it's like so at that right there. It's like I mean I'm not expecting those kind of sales all the time, but it wasn't Queen of the Dark Things. It was Shadows and Dreams. That's the name of Queen of the Dark Things is the second one, but
well, that's how they all should be, though. They should. I feel like if it's a download, they should only be a couple bucks because I'll look on Amazon when I'm looking for a book and it'll be like, well, you can buy the physical copy for $10, or you can pay $14 for the Kindle version. You're like, $14 for a download? Like, you didn't have to print a single book yet. Like, the whole reason I always feel like books are expensive is just for the fact they gotta, or not necessarily expensive, but you know, like why a book costs $20 is because it's on 450 pages of paper. You know, with a hard cover.
For it to get there. Shit had to die for it to get there.
Exactly.
Basically.
That's some poor tree had to go out and get shot out of its misery just to be, you know, your little tablet for reading. Where like on a digital copy, it's just one of those ones like
you had to kill some rare bug in Africa to get the red ink for the page or for the cover or whatever. You know, so isn't there like some weird like bug they got to kill?
Yeah, they use for like ink and whatnot.
Yeah. But anyway, to get like a certain like tone. Yeah. But no,
I don't know if the bug's rare, but it's a bug still nonetheless.
there's like a no, but like I mean, I'm not expecting everything to just be $1 to $2. I mean, I understand $7, but it's when you start charging $14 for
once you just start charging practically where it's almost like, well, why don't I just go get the physical copy then? It's like, to me, the whole point is like, a digital copy is supposed to be, one, it's convenient because you can kind of get it right when you're sitting at your computer, but two, it's supposed to be like, I just feel like it's there's no value to it, so it's just like, I shouldn't have to pay very much.
Mm-hmm.
You know,
I see $7. I understand $7.
$7. I still think that's pushing it for like a digital copy. I think.
Well, that's half the price. That's half the price of what you're standing.
I guess that's true. If a regular book's $15, that is half the price, and that does fall in my margin of as long as it's half. You know, for maybe brand new books, but like when it gets to like an older book, they should all just be like $1 or $2. You know, once the book's already kind of made its initial run. You know,
I bought like a few audiobooks. Well, I bought one audiobook, so it was reasonably priced, but then I bought another one. I bought like one audiobook that was like maybe it was on sale, but it was like $12. I'm like, okay, that's not so bad. But then the majority of them are like 20. I looked at Keith because I love the Rolling Stones and I love Keith Richards, but his book looks so fucking long, and I hear it goes on, so I'll just get his audiobook. The audiobook is like $30-something.
It would be awesome if he read it himself.
Apparently it's one of those things. Like I actually looked at it. I read the thing on it, and it got a lot of great reviews. But apparently he does a little bit of a beginning. He reads part of it himself, but then he gets a bunch of big actors that come in and read different parts of his life.
No, that's pretty sweet.
And just take a guess at who one of those actors is.
Samuel L. Jackson?
No, that would be amazing.
Morgan Freeman?
But just guess someone that kind of like, oh, this guy clearly loves Keith Richards, and he emulates it a lot. Yeah.
Oh, that's pretty cool.
He got Johnny Depp to do like a couple of chapters in there.
Well, that's pretty sweet. So that's pretty cool, but it's one of those ones like when I'm looking at something like $25 or whatever you said it was, it's just kind of like, really, it's a download. Once again, nobody had to make a fucking cassette tape or a CD. Nobody had to make packaging. Nobody had to ship it out. You know, that's the only thing. It's just like, might as well just. I just feel like if it's downloads, you might as well just charge it cheap and then have everybody buy it.
Yeah.
Instead of like when you charge it at that price, like only the uber super fan will probably get it. You know what I mean? Or the guy who's just a little too lazy to go down to the store or something like that. That's just.
Or just make the Costco version, or the Target version. Because when I think about it, like, yeah, sure, it's cool you got Johnny Depp, but at the same time, you can just get some just some average voice actor just to come in, like read it and charge it like half the price. Shit, I pay $10 for the audiobook, but
yeah, it's $10 is not bad because it's like you're getting quite a bit of content, especially when the book's like 700 pages.
Yeah, but it wasn't just it was a couple other people too, but that was the name that stood out to me.
It's just like I just think that more things when it comes to downloads, I always look to Soundgarden. To me, Soundgarden did the most ideal thing. Of that last album, it was $3.99 to download it. I've never seen any other band do that. Even bands that are tiny bands, and you look and they're trying to charge $10, you're like, dude, if Soundgarden can fucking charge $3.99, why can't you?
Yeah.
I guess Soundgarden's one of those ones that are like, Chris Cornell's probably making enough money that he doesn't care. And secondly, I think they want just to kind of almost go like, hey, fans, we're back here. This is what you get a discount for waiting.
Well, even though I really like that album, Chris Cornell kind of had to eat his own words right there because by the time his first album came out, not his first album, his second solo album came out, Carry On, someone asked them like, so since Audioslave broke up, what's the possibility of a Soundgarden reunion? And a bunch of people in the audience start cheering. This is like an interview show, and he says, "Oh,
he flips the table over and just gets all angry and storms on."
He's like, "Fuck this!" And flips, just leaves. No, he said,
"Well, I guess we got the answer there. Tune in next week."
He's like, you know what? I love my time with Soundgarden. It was great, but it wouldn't be the same thing. People want the same thing, and it's not going to be the same thing. So why try to just recapture it? What happened, and that's kind of why I left Audioslave. I think we did as best we could there, and that was the end of Audioslave. And it would have been nice if it lasted longer, but that's what it is, and that's what it is with Soundgarden. So, I wish him all the best, and yada, yada, yada. And that's a very good answer. But the thing is, He then came out with his third album, and then he started opening for Linkin Park. So then he had to eat his own words and restart Soundgarden. So I understand why. Understand why. And I'm grateful because we got a good album out of that.
And that's one of the best
He may not
Soundgarden albums.
I'm not sure if he likes it. I'm not sure if his heart's fully in it. You know, people change their minds over time. But still, that's one of those things right there that he had to eat his own words. So maybe out of that, like, well, I can't, like, talk that shit, come out with Soundgarden, and then suddenly charge people an arm and a leg for it. We better make this shit cheap.
Exactly. But
he might. He is one of my favorite musicians. I'm not trying to talk too much shit on him, but yeah.
No, but yeah, that's one of those ones. He probably woke up at like fucking 1 a.m. in a cold sweat and just fucking grabbed the phone and just said like, "We're getting the band back together." What about what you said on that talk show? Fuck that talk show. I just opened for Linkin Park.
Fuck you. We're doing this.
We're gonna charge $3.99 because we want to respect our fans.
Like, oh great, I'll tell Brad and Tim. Wait, who is this? This is Tom Morello. Oh shit, wrong number. Hangs up.
Fucking speed dial.
It's like, oh, well, we still got Rage Against the Machine. I still got Night Watchman. We're okay.
I was wondering, I wonder if Tom Morello has a new Night Watchman album coming out.
He's been doing a lot of stuff with Springsteen. He's basically the newest member of the E Street Band without officially calling it that.
Yeah, that's definitely true. He has been doing a bunch of stuff there.
Whenever, like, every time I see, like, Bruce Springsteen play somewhere, Tom Morello's playing with him, so. And that's not a complaint by any means. I think that's awesome, so.
Well, yeah, I think that's a great place for him to be at. But I was just kind of wondering because the Night Watchman was one of those ones like he could play with like everybody in the world, but that's still sort of his like own little thing that no matter what he can always do that.
There's that one girl, Lorde, who's from Australia, who's kind of popular right now. It was one of those things like I didn't really know a whole lot about her. I just know of her and I'm like I don't really give a shit. And I never really take the time to check her out. Bruce Springsteen covered one of her songs, in like acoustic folk version of one of her songs, and I listened to him. I'm like, okay, if Bruce, like, not to sound like do my thinking for me, Bruce, but if Bruce is okay with her, then I'm okay with her. So I'm not.
I trust Bruce's opinion.
Since then, I listened to 2 or 3 of her songs. They're good. I'm not sure if I'm gonna go and buy the album, but if Bruce trusts her, I trust her. So that's good enough for me.
That's all that matters. Oh, well.
No.
What are you going to say?
I was going to say maybe the day Bruce Springsteen starts, like, writing, like, with, what's his name? Achy Breaky Heart guy. Maybe that's when I start questioning Bruce. But until then, though, I'm like, you do what you want, Bruce.
Yeah, until that point, yeah, we can trust Bruce's opinion. Well, that's probably a good place to leave off right there. Yeah, hopefully all went well recording-wise, and that we won't have to fucking cut another podcast short. So, yeah. So, make sure to tune in next week and check out oldmanorange.com for more podcasts, videos, animations, and more. Send us an email at oldmanorangepodcast@yahoo.com. And until then, I'm Spencer Scott Holmes.
I'm Ryan Dunigan.
And we will see you some other time.
Goodbye.
Thanks for listening to the Old Man Orange Podcast. Check out our website at oldmanorange.com for even more podcasts, cartoons, videos, music, and more. Send us an email at oldmanorangepodcast@yahoo.com. Be sure to subscribe, share, rate, and review us on iTunes, Podomatic, or any of the other fine sites we might be located on. And if you want to help out even more, click on the Amazon or GameStop links on our webpage before you make any purchases there. It won't cost you a penny, but it sends us a little something our way. Thanks again, and tune in next week for more Old Man Orange Podcast.